You're listening to the Geriatric Mamas Podcast with Jessica Raziri
and Sonia Tapley.
Today we have a really cool one.
Yes.
Sonia, do you want to kick it off on who we're going to be talking to?
So Stephanie is a psychologist and mompreneur career coach who helps moms prepare for maternity leave, postpartum, and returning to business. She's here to answer questions about going back to work after having your baby, and she's coined the term fifth trimester, which I absolutely love. Can't wait to hear her talk about all of this. It's invaluable. And I know we've talked about it a few times. We've talked about going back to work and balancing mom life, career life. But we've also talked about, PTSD from infertility, which kind of all goes hand in hand with what Stephanie does. So I'm really interested to hear her take on all this stuff. It's going to be great.
But also, I love the term mompreneur as well. So
yes, exactly.
That's pretty cool.
I feel like I took on the whole mompreneur thing because this is my only job now. And when we were having our conversation just to, talk about planning the episode and everything she said was how I was feeling when I was going back to work with Annabelle. So it's crazy. A lot of us feel the same. That's for sure.
There's this feeling of relief when you open up to somebody, and then it's like you just realize that they get it, and they are literally saying the things that you're thinking, and it's like it doesn't necessarily change what you're going through, but there's something that happens when you know that you're not alone, and you're just like, finally, because when I talk to my husband about this, he doesn't get it. When I talk to my friends who didn't go through XYZ, they're supportive, but they don't really get it. But it's to talk to somebody who actually freaking gets it is just finally,
right.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, should we let her in?
Yeah.
She's just hanging out in our waiting room.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right, let's let her in. Hello, Stephanie. Welcome.
We're so excited to have you.
I'm excited to be here.
Yes. I just literally tripped on my cord. My foot just got stuck. Sorry about that.
You heard a bunch of Jessica making the microphone noises.
You heard a bunch of wrestling on the microphone. Sorry about that. So, merry belated Christmas, Stephanie. How was your holiday so far? It's not over. We still got New Year's, but how's the first part?
It's a blur. I think it's a blur.
Yeah. That means you had fun.
I have a 2.5-year-old and a 4.5-year-old and 2 dogs, and it just feels like so much stuff, and it's just a marathon to get to the actual day. And then it's really interesting, especially with my 4.5-year-old. She was like, "Everything you got is boring, Mama."
Aww.
Wait,
let's
that
do
you
this
got
over, Mama.
for her, you got for yourself is boring?
No, for her.
Oh my God. No. She wants a Christmas do-over. Now, do you guys tell her about Santa Claus? Does she think it's you, or does she think it's Santa Claus, or both?
No, she thinks it's Santa Claus, but I think it's a combination of, we were, like most other parents, wrapping presents late Christmas Eve, and we were wrapping them in and out most of the day, and my husband comes up, and I see the next morning that he had labeled he had done some Santa Claus ones, but he also did to my daughter from Dada, and I was like, wait, where am I in this?
Oh my gosh, that is hilarious.
And he was like, "I'm so sorry. I just was so out of it that I assumed you had already done that for some gifts." And I was like, "No, we didn't. I didn't do that."
That is hilarious.
That's so good. Was it at least stuff that he picked out, or was it stuff that you had picked out and he just decided to claim?
I think it was actually things he had picked out, so I'll give him credit for that. Absolutely. Okay. But still, it was so Santa and Dada gave you gifts.
But Mama just Mama just fucked off on that one. Where was Mama? You dropped the ball, Mama.
I did. Yeah. And then I got her like
Oh my gosh.
boring gifts that she, like it's like a lot of art supplies and walkie-talkies, which she was on the walkie-talkie like all day. It was like a
Oh my
But it's
gosh.
boring
So
apparently.
she
But
clearly
apparently.
loves it. Yeah. Is she a Gemini? Is she a Gemini? Mine's a Gemini, and she said something about boring as well.
Yeah, she was just, well, then she like qualified later. She was like, it's a boring color. That's what I meant.
Got it.
So she was walking it back.
Oh my God.
Specific.
That's so
I love it.
funny. Well, it's so true though. Like you said, like it's a marathon to get here because it's like us moms, we're the magic, we're the magic of Christmas. And it's like we're the ones that like make it all happen and come to life. And usually dad just needs to show up and like everything just happens. And then it's like when it's over, it's like we're friggin' exhausted. And so it's like we're just like, what just happened? Like you said, it truly is a blur. Like what just happened? It literally came. It punched me in the face, and then it just like left. It left town.
Unless you're like Sonia's family 2 years in a row and everybody gets COVID and then we have to celebrate 3 different Christmases at different times. And then it doesn't punch you in the face, like in the immediate moment. It just spreads itself out. So like little jabs.
Yeah.
How many Christmases do you do in one day, Stephanie?
Yeah.
We do one, but we're actually up in Maine. I'm probably like miles away from you, but we are trying to, we're going to do a couple of other Christmases. So we have like grandparents gifts here and there. So the collection of all the stuff is just like piling up.
So much. Yeah. That's what we need to try to figure out. That's what we need to try to figure out. Cause like when we go home, so I'm in Texas right now, but when I'm from Maine, and when I go home to Maine, it's just like the one Christmas, and we might visit like some aunts and uncles and stuff, but it's like just like the one Christmas at home, and it's very chill and it's great. But like here in Texas, we need to kind of figure something out, because currently the way it is it's like Christmas Eve at my mother-in-law's. We usually do Christmas Eve church and then spend the night there, then do Christmas morning there. And then we like race home around like 1 or so. And then we jump on Zoom and we do the Christmas Zoom with my family. And then we like quickly like pivot and change and reload up the car with more stuff again. And then we go over to either like my father-in-law's or my sister-in-law's, and we do the Christmas with his dad and like that. And so it's just like, it's literally 3 Christmases in one day. And it is so stressful. It's like, oh my God. And it's like, I want Hayden to have that moment of like coming down the stairs and being in his own home with like Santa and stuff. So when he gets older, like we're going to have to like set some boundaries and change things a little bit, because I want him to be able to like stay in his pajamas and play with his toys. I don't want to have to like quickly get him dressed and load him in the car and go to this place and go to this place and go to like, no, come to us. Just fucking come to us. I'm over it.
That's an idea.
I feel like come to us at like, it's like such an important theme for grandparents or family members. Like come to us in general, like all year long. Like, it is nice to go to your place, but like the fact that especially with little ones, like having to travel, it's just so
much stuff.
It's so hard.
It's so much.
And like
stuff.
the 2.5-year-olds get really opinionated about where they are. So getting out the door with Annabelle sometimes is an hour and a half of negotiation, and we're lucky if we've got clothes on. Like the other day I negotiated her out the house and she was just wearing her underwear, and I'm like, we need to get dressed. Like we need clothes on, and then that was a whole other problem for her. So
like, oh my God.
Yeah. That's why grandparents should just come to you.
Yeah. It's a lot, because it's like, okay, like what about food? Like, is there going to be like baby friendly stuff for him to eat? Because he has a lot of teeth, but not all of them yet. So I need to make sure it's easy to dissolvable, and it's something that he can chew, and something that he's even going to like and eat. And so it's like, I'm packing like his food. I'm packing like all like his favorite toys. I'm packing his like stuff to like go to sleep if you're staying the night. I'm packing a change of clothes. I'm packing like just everything. And then not to mention we bring the dogs. And so then we're packing all the dog stuff too. And it's just like, it's so much stuff. And then that doesn't even include the gifts. It doesn't include the food that you probably make, doesn't include like the alcohol you're bringing. And then it's like you arrive and you literally feel like a bag lady with all this shit, and people are just like, oh, hey, you look stressed out, are you okay? Like
Yeah,
I know. My grandmother has said to me
I wonder
before,
why I'm stressed.
Right. My grandmother has literally said to me before, like after we get there 15 minutes late, she's like, "Oh, you know, I guess life is a little different when you have a baby. I don't know." And I'm like, "Yeah, no, it's quite different. Quite."
Wait, wasn't that the day that you said that you had a blowout? Like
Yeah,
you had
she had
just
a
changed a massive
blowout.
blowout?
She was still a newborn. She was probably 4 weeks old, and we lived in this town where they don't do trash pickup. You have to bring trash to the dump. And it was a Sunday, and so we were like, okay, cool. We have time. We're going to bring our trash to the dump on our way out of Standish to go to this family barbecue. And we got there 15 minutes late because she had this massive blowout that covered the like entire car seat. It was all the way up to her hair in the back of her head. And yes, she did have a lot of hair when she was born, so it was there. And then we had to basically strip down the car seat, like make sure she was clean, put on new clothes, and that was basically the 15 minutes. I mean, we were hustling.
But also, you weren't even late. I think you said that usually, like, she's used to you getting there early, but this time you showed up. You showed up on time, though.
Yeah,
but this time you showed up on time.
Yeah.
So she wasn't even late. She showed up on time, and she still got shit. Like she's just like, what?
And my baby, I'm like, okay, like I passed my baby off to her, like with two hands, like here. Hopefully, she doesn't smell too bad.
Oh my god. So much.
Nana want to hold a baby.
It's so crazy. And you're still hormonal at that point too, so it's like not helpful.
My tongue would get bit like right off by my own self. Like I would just be like,
yeah.
Don't say anything. Don't say it.
Well, this is a good segue, speaking of like hormones, to talk about the 5th trimester that Stephanie has coined the phrase of. I love that because it truly is another trimester. It's a whole other phase that I think people don't really think about or talk about. It's like, okay, you go through like 9 months, you go through like all these things, you go through all the stuff. And then once you like get past like the, you know, little blip that they give you of what's declared postpartum, then you're supposed to then be fine after a few months and move on with your life and everything's great. And it's like, yeah, but no, there's this whole other part that happens after maternity leave that is scary and it's stressful and, you know, not a lot of people really get. So I love that that's really what you've been focusing on. So why don't we just jump right in? Sonia and I have some questions for you. So you're going to be in the hot seat for a little bit, Stephanie. So how do you deal with the anxiety and anticipation of going back to work?
Yeah, I mean, I think that like you said, the 5th trimester, even though like, I think that most people who say they've coined that phrase, like, I think we're all in the same boat. There's like someone who wrote a really great book about the 5th trimester actually recently. But yeah, I think it's this piece of like not talking about this other major transition that when I work with women, like oftentimes I'm thinking, okay, it's not the end part of postpartum because like, you know, the World Health Organization says it's 2 years, which I think is really like the whole postpartum period is 2 years after birth.
That makes sense.
Which I feel like is a big relief. Well, at least I found that to be a relief as opposed to like 6 weeks, which we like have in our society as postpartum. But yeah, the anxiety of going back to work, I think that the way that I work with people around that is to have spaces to allow women to think about work and time not to think about it. I mean, this is like if people are anxious and don't really want to go back to work, like they're feeling nervous or guilty or scared to separate from their kiddo, you know?
Yeah.
And to not be in so much control. So I think by like having specific time and kind of some check-ins at like, all right, it's 8 weeks before you're going back to work. Can I have like a brief conversation with someone about it? And then I like check in again at 4 weeks before I go back to work. And then 2, and then 1. I think like tapering into it is helpful to kind of getting a sense of like, what do I need to like organize my brain around? What am I going to wear? How am I going to pack? What do I need to do with, you know, like, because there's a lot of like details around it too. Yeah. Does that make sense?
No,
Yeah.
it does. And like, you're literally like checking off all these things for me that I had anxiety. And like, when I went back to work, I was working from home, but there were still those moments of like, hey, we're going to do a team happy hour. And I'm like, but I don't have pants.